Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. We move on with what we have lined up for you, and now we get to have a quick look at what the papers have for us today. I have a copy of the Daily Nation, and the main read today focuses on the fuel crisis that we are seeing in the country with the deportation of the boss, managing director at Rabies. So the government yesterday did sign some deportation papers for Rabies Energy Kenya managing director, that is Jean Christian, who it accused of economic sabotage as it fought oil marketers and setting off a petrol crisis throughout the country. They were also noted to have been participating in the exportation of fuel and petroleum products across two other countries, while the local market was experiencing a shortage. We'll be giving you more details about these stories in just a bit. Moving on to politics, Kalonzo has been cornered and he can't leave Azimio. This is in regards to his most recent protest letter in regards to some of the parts of the deal that he signed with the coalition, saying that, especially focusing on three areas, saying that this was not what we signed, but according to allies of ODM and the greater Azimio of fraternity, they say that he cannot leave the coalition. He's stuck with them, and this is based on the election laws. And still keeping up with politics is the whole question about UDA primaries that will be taking place today. Who will win big, as big fights in Ruto's UDA hold polls? Of course, we had seen some bit of chaos when it comes to the transportation of this primary materials that were being sent to the different counties for the for the UDA primaries, and all this was happening yesterday, but we will be giving you the details as has been captured on this particular daily. And finally, yesterday there was that story here on the Daily Nation concerning Ukraine, which was proposing to make a statement in Parliament, Kenya's Parliament, but Kenya respectfully declined, saying that they opt to venture into more diplomatic ways when it comes to handling the situation. And today, there's another piece here that says, we respect Kenya's stand on Ukraine crisis, says Russia. I will be letting you know what has been captured on these stories in just a bit. Mike.
Yes, and on the front page of the Star, the front page headline is Raila locks in Kalonzo as Azimio registered. Now, a deeper look into that is on page 4 and 5. How Kenyatta and Raila locked in Kalonzo in Azimio. We're going to take a look at that later on. Still on the front page of the Star is ODM big guns in Raila's Nyanza tough 100 direct tickets. That's on page 7. We're going to take a look at that. The main players are Siaya Governor aspirant James Orengo and Kisumu Governor Anyang' Nyong'o, who have been given direct tickets. We're going to take a look at that later on. But the most interesting story to me is the front page, the photo. As you can see, is a boda rider carrying 7 children on the boda. The headline being boda arrogance. That's something I really want us to take a look at, especially since there's all these conversations going on about the fuel prices. So we're going to see what's going on, because some parties are saying that it's because of the fuel shortage that some haven't registered. It's also because of, the fuel shortage that some are misbehaving on the road. So we'll see. Let's dive deeper into it later on. Doreen?
All right, Easter woes, hunger, fuel crisis, and party polls. This is the weekend for Easter, and as it stands, with the majority of Kenyans, good number of them always love to travel to up-country, but with the ongoing issues, particularly in the country as it pertains to matters, hunger, fuel crisis, and party polls, this might just hinder some of those Kenyans to travel up-country. That is what you're waking up to this morning. And also when it pertains to the question of hunger. We at least so far know that 3.3 million Kenyans are suffering from this, and this is particularly in the northeastern part of the country. And also IGAD has released a statement in respect to that. The government is still trying to intervene, particularly when it comes to this issue of hunger in the country, obviously occasioned by the drought effect. There's also the fuel crisis. We expect a press today. We expect EPRA to release new prices, and particularly also just try to expect things to change in this issue of fuel crisis. And again, party polls knowing fully well that this is again ongoing in this weekend, because they have up until April 22nd to finish the nomination. So this is just some of the issues that have been brought forth as to why perhaps this may hinder Kenyans from traveling up country, as is, or as tradition is always when it comes to this holiday. And again, also the UDA party primaries. Will the Deputy President Ruto fly or flop? This is because he is very, he actually is at the center stage of this primaries, and he's actually on record also saying that he is going to supervise these primaries that are ongoing today in the across the country. This is in respect to the UDA party. Even before today, we have seen a lot of negotiated democracy taking place in this particular party when it comes to the consensus. We've seen some candidates having to back down for others, the recent one being the South Imenti, where the famous comedian MC Jesse just had to back down for, that is in favor of Mwiti Kadhara. We've also seen that in Mombasa County, where Hassan Omar is going to fly the party ticket for the gubernatorial seat, again also after consensus. We've seen that in Nairobi. So clearly, much as yes, they are going to hold this primaries today, also that issue of consensus has taken center stage. And again, this has not augured well with a section of some people, because, well, there's that question of always going to the ballot. But even as this stands, the National Elections Board chairperson, that is Anthony Mwaura, has assured the aspirants of free and fair nominations, and he says that everything is in place. Actually, as it stands, the party has already recruited 47 county returning officers, 200 constituency returning officers, 21,000 presiding officers, and 52,000 clerks to man these primaries that are taking place today. And away from that, still again the same continues in the ODM party. Just as I mentioned, 22nd of April, that is next week, Friday, is the deadline for this nomination. And so as that is continuing in the UDA, which actually is taking place today, ODM spread that to different days. And again, what has been happening also in that particular party as it pertains to primaries, or if you made the nominations, and this is again in specific areas. This actually as of yesterday in Raila Odinga's backyard, that is in Siaya areas of Mageta Island. There were delays in these primaries, and again also the party members were really complaining, citing issues of inadequate preparedness, missing names of some of the aspirants, which also brought in some chaos as it pertains to those nominations that were being held there yesterday. So clearly it is that time where parties are really buckling up to just try to ensure that by the time it's 22nd, they are complete and done with these nominations. Regina.
Now, I'll pick it up from there, because that is what we have on the front page of this particular daily, being the Standard there. Protest as UDA holds nominations. Remember, the party primaries are taking place today. We expect that our reporters who are stationed in various counties, including Meru, Embu, Uasin Gishu, Baringo, Kiambu, Kericho, Nandi, and Bomet, are on standby to bring us, what is happening on ground. From that story on the front page is that, there have been a bit of, protests here and there, especially in Embu. We are going to be getting an update in our subsequent bulletins on exactly what is happening. Remember, this IBC, these primaries are going to be taking place in gazetted areas, or, areas that have already been identified by IBC to conduct this exercise. The party has come out to say that these elections are to be nominations are to be free and fair. We're going to be waiting to see if indeed it's going to be a seamless affair. KBC Channel 1 is already in Nandi, Bomet, Kericho, Kiambu, Baringo, Uasin Gishu, Embu, and Meru to bring you information from the ground there. in Uasin Gishu, we already have 7 gubernatorial aspirants there who include and then bigwigs there in as far as being household names are concerned. Among them is former Kenyan ambassador to Pakistan, Julius Bitok, Ms. Sarah Serem of SRC, and also the Kenyan ambassador to China, Soy MP Caleb Kostani, Jonathan B., former Nairobi County Executive Member Veska Kangongo, and Mr. David Singoe and Solomon Kiptarbe. Those are 7 household names that you've had in politics in one capacity or another. They're all eyeing, the ticket, UDA ticket there to run for governor in Uasin Gishu County. Now, according to Uasin Gishu UDA coordinator Paul Kiprop, voting is set to start at 7 a.m. and close at 5 p.m. Remember, as stipulated by the law, the party is going to be using its register for this particular exercise. Kenyans have been appealing for a peaceful environment as we enter into the nominations, as well as, as we head to the August 9th elections there. So other than matters of the ODM party nominations that are going to be taking place or are taking place as we speak, given that these particular places are set to open their doors at 7 a.m. So we believe the exercise is already underway. We're going to be getting feed from our reporters on ground. We are talking about why you need to brace for fuel price shock. That is a big read in this particular daily, being the 14th of April, where we expect our monthly fuel review. And in light of what has been happening over the last 1 or 2 weeks there, with OMs saying that they have not been fully compensated, by government. Government still owes them a cool 14 billion shillings. And now developments that happened yesterday evening, there's a planned deportation of one Ruby Energy Group MD, Jean-Christian Bagajon, who was deported last night on account of withholding this particular commodity. Also, a report by EPRA indicated yesterday that some OMs, those are oil marketers, opted to export fuel to neighboring countries instead of actually supplying their local outlets, causing a huge fuel crisis that is still underway. As late or as early as this morning, queues are already forming in, fuel stations that actually have petrol there. And a time when Kenyans are waiting to find out if EPRA is going to review the fuel price up. Industry players who spoke to this particular daily exclusively indicate that if government does not subsidize or use the petroleum development levy, rather the subsidy program, we are looking at an increase of up to 40 shillings onto the current price of super petrol, taking the price to around 178, 175 shillings per litre of super petrol. And this will also affect the cost of diesel and kerosene. What does this mean for households across the country? It means that the cost of living is going to go way higher than where we find ourselves in. And talking about matters of, the cost of living going way up, yesterday a section of members of parliament held a presser to address the nation, and some of the concerns were being raised about, the politics that is encroaching into the finance bill 2022. Quoted there is a minority party leader, John Badi, who is telling MPs allied to Raila to reject VAT that Treasury slapped on critical household commodities. The commodities that we're talking about include wheat, maize, and maize flour, attracting a 16% VAT there. This is likely to push, the cost of living beyond a majority of Kenyans reach there. So he argued that, the government is, for instance, proposed to remove unga from zero rated, and this will definitely be rejected by us because it hurts the consumer. He further went on, this is Mr. Mbadi, the reality is that bottled water has ceased to be a luxury and is now a necessity, and we may decide to reject the proposal to hike that taxation. On the proposed taxation on for Boda Boda is modest, but it also is sending the wrong message that the price of motorbikes should be increased. We are waiting to see which direction Parliament is going to take in regard to the proposals that have already been handed to Parliament by Treasury there under the Finance Bill 2022. Remember, in his presentation there, CS National Treasury Ukur Yetani indicated that there was a review of even the items that are going to attract 10% more in excise duty. So we are yet to find out exactly what is going to be happening in Parliament. At the same time, the Budget Office says the government is to pay 1.3 trillion shillings in 2022 to redeem debt, which is 60% of the projected tax revenue. The Kenya, or rather taxman, the Kenya Revenue Services, now that we know them as the Kenya Revenue Service, in a change of name that is expected to, bring more people to the fold, or rather enhance tax compliance. It is estimated that it is to rake in, or rather collect taxes of 2.14 trillion shillings. 2.14 trillion shillings out to for a budget that is pegged at 3.3 trillion shillings. Now, more than half of the public debt is at an 8-time high, when the US dollar is at 115 to the greenback, from a rate of 84 shillings in 2012. Now, public debt to GDP ratio was at 38% in 2012. Actually, in 2012, but today it is 64% of the same level in 2002. So according to this particular article, the current financial situation we find ourselves at, the current state of the economy, is very similar to what we were experiencing in 2002. And it goes on to say, here too, profitable state enterprises such as Mumias Sugar, KPLC, KPC, and Kenya Airways are in the red. Corruption remains unabated in public service, and there's pain at the pump, in the kitchen, and in the farms and factories. Sounds like a 2002 scenario in as far as the state of the economy is concerned. That's just but a sneak peek of what we have on the front page of this particular daily. Jane.
Now, let me bring you back to the Daily Nation. And before we move away from this whole stories concerning fuel, there is a piece here on the Daily Nation from experts who say that crowding at fuel stations can trigger explosions. And Regina, we're just having this conversation earlier on about how petrol stations, watu wanagwarana kugwarana na magari.
Oh yes, it has become, space. No one is, actually, that's where it comes out, and the first come, first served kind of basis.
Yes.
There are motorcycle riders. There are those who have abandoned their vehicles somewhere, who've walked in with jerry cans. There are those who are queuing like us, and there are those who are coming in the last minute and they want to butt into the queue.
No one wants to excuse the other.
It's crazy.
So now, this piece goes on to say that this crowding at petrol stations could easily spark an explosion, considering that no one is switching off their engine, because ukisonga, ninasonga. And as we always see at petrol stations, there are those signs.
Don't use
no smoking,
don't use your mobile phone,
and switch off your engine. But no one is switching off their engines, and also carrying fuel with the jerry cans. Again, that's a big hazard. So now they're saying this uncontrolled crowding could also tamper with safety gadgets like alarms and firefighting equipment, as well as control systems of the petrol stations. So you are advised, do not smoke as you wait in line. Preferably switch off your car, and do not use your cell phone as well. And lighters and matchsticks as well. And this might seem to be common sense, information that you would expect everyone to know, but at the end of the day, we always see that common sense is not very common. So if you find yourself at the petrol station, try and remember you're at a petrol station.
Jane, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to switch off my engine
Practicability is the practicability of those.
We ain't switching off our engines because we're on the queue. But yes, it's actually, it's crazy. It looks as if we are going for donations and you're not paying for the commodity.
And have you seen the traffic?
You know, that's crumbling and you're yet paying for the commodity. It's not free. You are paying. And now I'm very worried what is going to happen after midnight tonight.
And have you seen the traffic that all this is causing on?
Oh, yes. And the rains, as far as this morning, the rains, then the normal rains attract traffic. Now we have the rains. Thank God for farmers, no problem.
And fuel queuing.
Now we have a fuel crisis, plus the rain, plus traffic. No wonder people are saying, actually, you're fueling. Unaweka mafuta ya kwenda kutafuta mafuta, mafuta inaisha. And you're there, you're left stranded. Then someone else, I actually woke up to someone saying, you know what?
Yeah.
The price of painting my bumper has never been this cheaper. Because they're ready to actually hit someone, to get
fuel.
To refill, to fuel.
Get fuel. But I don't know, I just hope that by the time today ends, things will now start being different.
But still, let us remember that oil and its petroleum products, they're highly flammable.
Highly flammable.
Yes. So kama utaki kuwaka moto, songa pole pole.
Like
that would be a disaster.
At this point, what are you really prioritizing? Because you know, by the time you're getting to that petrol station, you're not even thinking about all these things, much as it is very important. But your mind is just thinking, how can I get there at the pump?
Mike,
and get fuel.
Mike amenyamaza sana, kwani umegonga mtu kwa petrol station?
You know, actually the situation is, it's not even about the traffic.
It's close to the heart.
It's actually close to the heart because I was actually really disappointed this morning when I was coming into work. Some of the petrol stations went as far as putting tape.
Quarantine.
Meaning you're not even allowed inside the station. So where are we? You know, it's a sensitive topic as per now.
I asked someone a curious question. We talked about, you know, tech, the industrial revolution, we are here, electric cars. This would be the ideal time to actually have one.
Kwanza if you have a hybrid.
Yeah. This would be the ideal, then you remember, oh, you're in Kenya. Once it rains, they unhung the power. Where are we, in whose hands are we safe? Yeah, so we are in a catch-22.
Are there lessons we can borrow from different countries, maybe the West? Like, at least we understand they always have reserves, and anytime there's crises like this, they try and bring them out. So can we borrow some of these lessons? Or is it difficult because we are in an African...
Oh, are you talking about what are we? We're already in the mark.
Fuel.
We're already in the mark. Unless we learn from this situation for future. But for now, it's jungle. It's a jungle. It's a jungle.
Alafu at the end of the day, it's just you and I.
I'm worried that we'll get to, you know, in a parking lot, if this thing is not abated. You know the way those trucks that are driving, doing transit, there are times that they claim that people fuel, or rather siphon fuel from them. Are you imagining a situation maybe in the court, you've parked your car, you're like, hey, at least I have half a tank. Your neighbor knows, man, this guy is always going to work. How is he getting to work and I'm suffering? In the dead of the night, they siphon your fuel. I hope it doesn't get there. It does not paint a good picture, especially for a country that is priding itself as an economic powerhouse within the East African region. This thing needs to be abated. Jane, before I take it to you, I'd want to also point out that we're going to have a boost in as far as our sporting events are concerned, and this is because Fraser Price and Richardson are to light up the Cape Kano Classic. How about that? Who doesn't know that chick? Mike, please tell me you know this lady. Do you know Anne Fraser Price?
I do, but...
Yes, the sprinter.
Yes.
She be a sprinter, has already bagged 3 golds in the Olympics, World Championship, 9 gold medals, Indoor Championship, 1 gold, World Athletics Finals, 1, Diamond League, 4, Commonwealth Games, 1. And guess what? She's coming to the country to participate in the Cape Kano Classic that is slated for the 7th of next month at the Kasarani Stadium. Booyah.
Regina, don't say that again. Inner voice, inner voice, inner voice. Now, as we bring this segment to a close, I think there's some two stories here concerning health that I would like to just highlight very briefly. Number one is on the treatment of cervical cancer. According to the World Health Organization, they approved a the use of single human papillomavirus, that is HPV vaccine dose. So single-use dose as opposed to the treatment that has been when it comes to cervical cancer prevention. So according to the Strategic Advisory Group of Experts, they said that this single-dose vaccine is good and it works better than the two-dose that usually get, and it is said to be a game changer, and this is especially so for women who are aged 15 and above. And of course, just looking at the statistics that they have given here, when it comes to Kenya, an estimated 16.2 million women are at risk of developing cervical cancer, but with this single-dose vaccine, it goes a long way in the prevention of cervical cancer. And the other story is in regards to the treatment of rabies. India has developed the world's first 3-dose rabies vaccine. The dose that is currently available is a 5-dose vaccine that is given over a course of 28 days, 5 doses to be considered to be a complete dose. And there's so many people who never see the whole treatment through because of availability and the finances involved. So with this 3-dose vaccine, it is set to make things easier and help patients see through the entire regimen to just ensure treatment is actually effective. And this is very good news, especially in India, considering the population and the number of stray dogs that are always running about living their best lives. So good news right there.
All right, just before we get to close this, Jane, I think I'd want to look at this story because it's really a very pertinent issue, much as we talk about the fuel crisis.
Briefly, tukifunga kaka maneno.
Yes, tukifunga, it's because of the ravaging effects of drought and the hunger crisis in this country. You know that IGAD has already issued a statement, 3.3 million Kenyans suffering from that. And our civil society groups, as of yesterday, raised concerns as to particularly the money that the state has been disbursing to these Kenyans that they talked about at the beginning of the year. And the question is that if they're disbursing this money, what rationale are they using? Because also a good number of Kenyans say that they have not received this money. And at the same time, yes, if they're distributing the money, how about the 11 children that so far have died in Marsabit because of the issues of drought? So they really want the government to take intervention very quickly as it pertains to this issue of drought and hunger crisis in the country. So that is just what is coming up from one of the civil society group. That is the Route to Food Initiative Challenge.
All right, so I think with that, we have come to the end of In the Headlines. We do believe now you are best positioned to grab whichever daily best resonates with you. But we have so much more lined up for you. Do stay with us. Entertainment Thursday is officially on.